Recently, I participated in a giveaway for a katana, and I won a Steamkey for Katanaut. The reason I say this is because I don't tend to play Metroidvania style games, but getting the Steamkey, I decided to keep it anyway for two reasons. Reason one, I saw this as a fun opportunity to make contact for a game from a small developer. This should have been a Let's Play, but someone might have screwed some recording settings that caused my PC to crash out all audio and making that footage kinda useless for a Let's Play. I will run a few clips throughout this video, just without the audio. Reason number two, I might not be a Metroidvania fan. Sometimes you gotta go out of your comfort zone and try out something else. I did it a few years ago with Wolong Fallen Dynasty, and then eventually it got me to like Souls-likes. Before Wolong, I hated those games. Maybe Katanaut can do the same thing for me with Metroidvania games. But did it? Well, let's find out, shall we? Let's talk about the gameplay. It's fast. The game isn't too punishing, but do expect to jump, dodge, strike, and die as you go from room to room, or level if you prefer. The game doesn't really hold your hand. Every semi-randomly generated level will have you explore and find your way to the next. And you have to figure out where you're gonna go yourself. But with how fast everything goes, that is not at all annoying. Took a wrong turn or explored a bit too much, you'll be able to run back rather quick or use one of the quick travel points. When it comes to abilities, the game does an extremely good job at telling you what to expect, but still give you the freedom to figure out what's best for you and your playstyle. From different weapons with different strike attacks and movesets, to guns that are either faster or pack a stronger punch. Combine this with various skills you pick up during your run, and you can figure out whether you want to go for powerful, heavy-hitting attacks, or rather have the abilities that help you get out of a pinch in a timely fashion. One of the options for your ranged weapon slot is a shield. That shield will negate the next damage you take within a specific time frame after activating it. It wasn't my thing, but I can imagine someone more calculated at these games would absolutely love it. Me? I like the passive skill that damaged enemies when you dodge through them. And it was a skill I tried to find on every single one of my runs. Admittedly, it wasn't very helpful in the boss fight, and I probably should have switched it out for something more damaging before trying the boss encounter, but that's part of the fun. Learning what works and when it works best. But more surprisingly for me, I actually made it to the first boss, and on my first attempt I got about a third of his health off. Now, this was at the end of the recording setting, so I haven't been able to beat him just yet, but I know in time, with more runs and more practice, that I will. In between the rooms on your run, you'll go through a corridor. Here you can spend plasma picked up from enemies during this run to buy different weapons and perks for the rest of your run, as well as get a free upgrade that will stay with you until the next time you die. The corridor will be a good indicator for me if I rushed through a room too quick, because I would be too broke to buy anything. Your risk does get rewarded, because if you rush through the room, you might find yourself short-handed in the next room. Well, if you explore and kill lots of enemies, which obviously means you might take more damage, you will actually have more resources to spend for the next room. Now, in this safe spot in the corridor, you can also refill your health and your health syringes. And you can also save the game so you can continue this run later on in your very, very busy life. It's a simple thing, but simple things often get missed in an oversight, so I do think it's worth mentioning that the developers did pay attention to that. Now, speaking of healing, you'll be able to heal quite often and get syringes back from things like chests. So try not to wait until the last moment. I definitely ended a few runs a bit too early because I was being too conservative with my heals. Now, when you do eventually die and return to the main hub, you can spend your well-earned rewards on permanent upgrades, making every subsequent run easier. And I can imagine you'll be able to run through the first few rooms with extreme ease once you get far into the game. At that point, you would have more health, more healings, better weapons, better upgrades, and better permanent perks. Because one thing the game did extremely well for me as an absolute noob in these type of games is give me the sense of progression. I think it helped that that's early on just to lock extra NPC characters in that main hub, and that also gives you a solid opportunity to buff up your main character not for the next run. So even if I was kinda stuck in the first area for a while, that area got easier with every run, and in just a couple of hours I met that first boss. Now, not at all unimportant is the story. I've seen little bits of cutscene, some of which are interactive, which I quite liked, but I definitely didn't make it far enough into this to have a strong opinion about the story. I got to learn bits and pieces of the NPC crewmates, and I can make a fairly educated guess of what happened on this spaceship that you're fighting on. I can say it could be a bit predictable if what I'm thinking is true, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Predictable doesn't mean bad, but who knows, the game might actually throw a big curveball later on. I do intend to find it out at some point myself. So with all that, am I keen on playing this more? Yes, which honestly is the best compliment I can give a game in this genre. I do not have the urge to drop it. Now, does that mean Katanaut made me a fan of the genre? Maybe by the end of this playthrough, but for now, no. But I can tell you, if you want to try out a Metroidvania game that can be challenging but isn't brutal to a fault, I can absolutely recommend Katanaut. I can recommend it, and I will recommend it. Now, if you want to try out Katanaut for yourself, in the description you can find a link to the Steam page, as well as a link to PR Pirate's Twitter, or X, or whatever you want to call it, who offered up the Steamkey in this giveaway. So be sure to check out that page, and while you're down there, I would really appreciate a like and a subscribe. And of course, thank you for watching. Until the next one.